Hello and welcome to another installment of Slammin Synapses right here on Facebook and YouTube. One of my viewers named Travis Berry suggested this installment to me. Like I say, if you ever have any comments or suggestions of things that you want me to discuss, feel free to drop me a line and I'd be more than happy to do an installment of it. In any case, Travis Berry suggested this, so here we go. This installment is going to be entitled The History of Wrestlemania. It's going to be a multi-part segment. This is part one of it. It's not, in most cases, not going to be a match-by-match history or anything that you want to base a thesis off of. But if you do, feel free. I won't be offended, won't be insulted. Just send me a copy of what you find afterwards. So, without any further ado, here goes. We may tackle one event. We may tackle more than one. Just depends on the importance of that particular event. So this first one's going to be about the very first one, and here we go. What is the catalyst for basically what has now been timed the idea of the showcase of the Immortals, the greatest wrestling of all time, etc., etc., etc. To me, the catalyst would be a music video done by Cyndi Lauper called "Girls Just Want to Have Fun," in which Captain Lou Albano, God rest her soul, made an appearance. Now, storyline-wise, through Piper's Pit, Captain Lou stated that he managed Cyndi Lauper, taught her everything that she knew, was the guiding force and guiding light behind her success. Of course, Cyndi Lauper disagreed with everything, but this led to one of two events that was done on MTV. This first one called The Brawl to Settle It. It was one of their first co-promoted things between WWF and MTV at the time. What happened is Wendy Richter, it would be a matchup between Wendy Richter, managed by Cyndi Lauper, against Fabulous Moolah, that was managed by Ken Lou Albano. It would be one of those rare times, those very rare times. Match was the highlight and the most dominating match of the card. Now, during this event, other titles have already been defended. Hogan had made his appearance, etc., etc. But with this one, the main focus was on the Women's Heavyweight Championship. Now, during this event, Wendy Richter would defeat the Fabulous Moolah to become the Women's Heavyweight Championship. Would become the Women's Heavyweight Champion, I should say. And basically, this will lead to further events later. Now, shortly after this event, Captain Lou and Cyndi Lauper would reconcile, put their differences aside. Storyline continued. Cyndi Lauper would present Captain Lou a gold per se. Piper, so enraged, came out and wound up clocking Captain Lou over the head with it. Now, also during this time frame was guesting Saturday Night Live with Mr. T, and he was also guest starring on the A-Team. Hogan was there. He came to their defense. During this, Lauper would wind up getting kicked in the head. Piper, Paul Orndorff, and Orton would get in, which would lead to an event called the War to Settle the Score, in which Hogan would defend the title against Roddy Piper. Hogan would wind up winning that match by disqualification, but during the course of the match, basically because Hogan was doing the thing with the A-Team, Mr. T was there. Mr. T would get involved, Piper would get involved, Hogan would get involved, Lauper would get involved, everyone would get involved. So this led to one of the main events at WrestleMania. Now, WrestleMania itself wasn't the pay-per-view giant that it is now. As a matter of fact, back then, events were shown on closed-circuit locations. The success and future of WWF kind of relied heavily on the success of this event. Now, it would be headlined by two main events. One would be Wendy Richter. Back up just a little bit. During the War to Settle the Score, earlier that evening, Wendy Richter will lose the women's title to Leilani Kai, who was managed by Moolah. So this led up to two main events, three if you count another match, which we'll go into in a moment. But it will basically be Wendy Richter going after the women's title against Leilani Kai, and Hulk Hogan and Mr. T making his wrestling debut against Paul Orndorff and Roddy Piper. Now, during this match, we would see such celebrities as Liberace, we'd see Billy Martin, famous Yankee manager, God rest his soul, also God rest his soul as well. Muhammad Ali would be the special guest ring enforcer for the main event. We would see Tito Santana in the first match against the Executioner, which Tito Santana would win. We'd also see King Kong Bundy do a record 9 seconds, although match was substantially longer, about 23 seconds or so. Guess they didn't start the timer immediately. But King Kong Bundy would be S.D. Jones in record time. You would also see JYD defeat Greg Valentine by disqualification. Intercontinental title was on the line, although JYD didn't leave the match with the title. You would also see David Sammartino take on Brutus Beefcake. You would also see the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov defeat the team of Barry Windham and Mike Rotundo for the World Tag Team Championship. To back it, prior to this, Andre the Giant was in it where he was getting his hair cut by Big John Studd and Company. This led to their matchup at WrestleMania, in which if Andre the Giant slammed Big John Studd, he'd win $15,000. If he didn't wind up slamming Big John Studd, or Big John Studd defeated him, then Andre the Giant's career would be over. These day and age, retirement matches, who really retire so long, if this match would happen then, now when Andre lost, who knows if it would be like a week, a month, whatever, till they came back. But this match was very important to the point where Andre the Giant wound up keeping his career, and he started throwing the money out to the crowd. Bobby Heenan stopped him. But as a result, Andre the Giant stayed in. Big John Studd was slammed, and so he goes. This will lead to the first match of one of the double main events, which of course is Leilani Kai, managed by Fabulous Moolah, against Wendy Richter, managed by Cyndi Lauper. During this match, Wendy Richter would become the women's heavyweight champion again for the second time with a defeat over Leilani Kai. Shortly, sometime after this match, Wendy Richter will leave the Federation. We'll go over that at another time, possibly with another topic. We'll just talk about that later. In any case, Wendy Richter would win, like I said, the title. This will lead us into the main event, Mr. T's wrestling debut. He did pretty well considering it was his first match. During the course of the match, there were a lot of run-ins, and it would wind up with Orndorff putting Hogan in the full Nelson. Now, in this episode, Hogan and Mr. T were seconded by Jimmy Snuka. Piper and Orndorff would be seconded by Cowboy Bob Orton. Now, when Orndorff had Hogan in the full Nelson, Piper came in, Mr. T came in, Snuka came in, Muhammad Ali was all over the place. Cowboy Bob Orton had a cast on his arm, went up to the top rope to hit Hogan. Now, Hogan managed to duck down just enough so that instead of getting hit by Orton, Orndorff got whacked on the back of the head. As a result, Orndorff would be knocked out enough for Hogan to pin Orndorff, and Hogan and Mr. T would win the match. Now, after the match, Piper and Orton would wind up leaving Orndorff behind. Afterwards, Mr. T would go to pick up Orndorff, kind of console him, see if he was doing okay, of which get up. We'll look around wondering where his guys went. Of course, they went bye-bye. This would be the start of Orndorff's face turn in the WWF, which led to other things happening later, which will, like I said, we'll probably tackle that in another subject at another time. So, as a result of this event, it cemented the WWF as a dominant force. It was very successful, which led to many other WrestleManias to come. Right now they're at 27, I believe. 28 is going to be next year in Miami. So, with their success, of course, it's led to other ones, other possibilities. The next history of WrestleMania installment, we may do another non-history between now and then. But the next history of WrestleMania, of course, is going to cover WrestleMania 2, probably 3, but let's focus primarily on 2 for that one. This one was held 3 locations: Los Angeles, Nassau, and Chicago. But we'll go more into that with the next installment. Like I said, if you have any comments, any suggestions, any thoughts, feel free to drop me a line. My email is on the screen right now through the graphic that you see there. If you want, subscribe to me. Keep up to date with these installments, with these videos, and I would be more than happy to have you along, because like I said, without you guys viewing me, without the views that I'm getting, this is basically just me talking to a webcam, and without any views, someone would seriously need therapy for that. So but for now, this wraps up part 1 of the history of WrestleMania. I do thank you once again. This is Albert Gourrier for Slammin Synapses. See you next time, and so long from ringside. Good night, everybody.